Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. And this is a paid request for Brian. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, movie reviews, re-reviews, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, video game playthrough, tier list ranking, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal, do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in the info box and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. And for those who sent them, thank you for your patience. I really appreciate it. We'll get to them as soon as possible. And for people like Brian, thank you again for your kindness, your patience. Thank you so much. So as you see from the title, Spy Kids, the first one is the review for today. Now, I believe the only one I have seen so far is the third one. If I had seen another one, or even reviewed another one, I don't remember a thing about it. But yeah, first Spy Kids. I didn't mind it. I'll say right off the bat, I didn't mind it for what it was as a family film. I wouldn't say I loved it, adored it, but it was an actual film. Because like I was saying before, the only one I had seen is Spy Kids 3. And to go off on a tangent, the reason I saw that film was that was around the time when I would go to the theater almost on a weekly basis. Because where I lived, a theater was nearby. So I would go there, again, if not every week, every other week, and pick out a movie and go, you know, it's the weekend, let me pick out that one. And Spy Kids 3D, it was two reasons. One, Sylvester Stallone, who I'm a big fan of, was in it. And two, it's a 3D movie. At that time, there was no other 3D movies in the theater right now. I'm like, you know what, let me check out a 3D movie, just for the experience, not so much the movie. Terrible fucking movie. The experience really didn't do jack squat. And it's one of the worst films Stallone has been in. I just hated the movie. Hated it. Hated it. Hated it. This one, like I said, was actually a movie. It actually had somewhat of a story, had somewhat of a plot. They seem like a little bit like actual characters. I mean, it's silly, it's goofy, it's a kid's film, I understand that. When there's special effects, CGI doesn't hold up the best, but it's 2001, and they still look kind of better than in 3D, where it was all in a video game, so there was a lot more of that crap. And the cast, I mean, you got Antonio Banderas and Carla Gugino as the parents, which, of course, here there's more screen time. In the third film, it was pretty much these characters kind of thrown in there for a cameo. And it's like, we're going to film you separately, then we're going to film you separately, then we're going to film you separately, then we'll just edit it all together afterward. It was like Robert Rodriguez filming in a shoebox. I have this much room, I shoot this, I shoot this, I shoot this, just put all fucking glossy overdose of CGI and there you go. This wasn't the case. There are moments of CGI, of course, but a little bit more, as dumb as it's going to say with this film, more subtle than I would see with Spy Kids 3. I don't think I ever saw Spy Kids 2. There's actually 5 of them, because there was a fourth one. I don't think that did that well. And then many years later, they did a reboot, a 5th one, for Netflix, and Robert Rodriguez directed all of them, all 5 of them. So there you go. The 5th one, I don't think has any actors from the older ones. I could be wrong on that, because it is more of a reboot. But here you have the two characters, Carmen and Junie, which Junie, the boy, was the star of Spy Kids 3D, but his sister, Carmen, wasn't really in it a whole lot until much later on because of the circumstances of the plot. But here, like, the plot, I guess because it was so used to Spy Kids 3 and the way that was done, I was kind of taken back of, oh yeah, we open it up like any other fucking movie would. Here are, first off, the parents. The mom is telling the kids a story about, these spies, like a fun, action bedtime story, but it's a love story. Unbeknownst to the kids, the mom is talking about her and her husband, aka their dad, of how they were spies. Again, the kids don't know their parents were spies, former spies, but anyway, the mom's interwoven this into a made-up story where one was going after the other, they fell in love, eventually they got married, and on the day of their wedding, helicopters are chasing them, and they run off, and they jump off the cliff, and they parachute, and the parachutes are these heart-shaped parachutes. And it's a little bit of, I don't want to say style, but a little bit of the fun, where I just see the appeal. Antonio Banderas, when he's giving Carla Gugino the wedding ring, he like slides it and kind of slides all slick-like right into her hands as she opens it up. And it has definitely a quirky idea where secretly Antonio Banderas is figuring out that some stuff is going wrong with the other former agents. So what they have to do is Carla Gugino wants in on the action. One thing leads to another, and it's a kid's show hosted by Cumming, which of course he's been in a lot of stuff throughout the years. Nightcrawler and the early X-Men films, for example. And his assistant is Tony Shalhoub, who I'm a fan of. The TV show Monk, Galaxy Quest, among other stuff. And their plan is to make these robot children to replace the children of ambassadors and other people around the world. And we need one ingredient, this special AI brain thing, so that they could actually have somewhat of a mind. So they could be more believable as kids, imposters, for whatever nefarious purposes they want to do later. Come to find out, Antonio Banderas has this, and then once they get captured, our two leads, the kids have this. Or at least when they go to the hideout, they find it, and then they carry it with them, and the bad guys try to take it from them. So the kids are finding out who their parents are, what kind of stuff they were doing, learning a bit about the spy business, what to do by the seat of their pants, how to deal with jetpacks, gadgets, things of that nature. And yeah, a lot of familiar people in this. I mentioned Antonio Banderas. Of course, he worked with Robert Rodriguez in Desperado, among other movies. Carla Gugino, I don't mind. She plays the mom. I thought that the two kids, Carmen and Junie, I apologize, I can't remember their names, because is it Daryl Sabara? See, I'm bad with names, so I have to look it up, so apologies. But Alexa Vega, I think at this point was Alexa PenaVega. I think she just changed it to Alexis Vega. She plays the daughter, Carmen, and Daryl Sabara plays the son, Junie. But I'll just say their character names just for sake of argument. They do fine. They worked fine as brother and sister. I didn't find them too irritating, too annoying, too egregious. They worked for what they needed to do. Robert Patrick is a villain who wants to buy the robot kids once they're actually finished. He's kind of entertaining when he's talking with Alan Cumming and Tony Shalhoub and being a little bit glorious with his villainy. Other people, the guy who the kids are supposed to be staying with, their uncle, is Cheech Marin. Sadly, he's not in the film much. He's in it pretty much to wake up, show them where to go to escape, tear off his mustache, put it back on, get in a fight with people, and then kind of get caught. And then you never really saw Cheech Marin ever again. I thought that was kind of weird. Even at the end of the film, which I get it, he's not really a relative, but still he was an agent, and obviously he was very close to the point that if Antonio Banderas says, hey, I trust you with my children, you have to be pretty fucking close. But you never see Cheech Marin again. Which again is funny because they talk about how family, and we're going to go on a mission, we're going to go on it together. Now, they're not, he wasn't blood family with them, but still, you would think for years you still thought this guy as your uncle, even if he really wasn't. And I don't know, I just thought it was weird that Cheech Marin, I don't know if he ever comes back in a later film. I guess I could have looked that up, but I don't remember him being in Spy Kids 3. Why don't I just look that up real quick? While you looked it up. Because that way, I get my facts straight a little bit. So I apologize. So, okay, he was, I guess, in Spy Kids 3. I just didn't remember him. So yeah, it says he was in Spy Kids 2 and 3. At least that's what it says here. So yeah, completely... I mean, I didn't see Spy Kids 2, but I completely forgot he was in Spy Kids 3. Completely forgot. But that movie deserves to be forgotten. So obviously things turned out right because he came back for the other ones. Oh, other familiar people. Teri Hatcher is in this. Lois from the TV show Lois and Clark with Dean Cain. She was also in Tomorrow Never Dies. She's in this as the henchwoman who you think is with the good guys, but she's a traitor, a turncoat, and is chasing the kids to get this special thing that they're looking for. Danny Trejo is in this as Machete, their real uncle, because he's Antonio Banderas' brother, who he builds the weapons and gadgetry, although the running joke is they don't always work the best. And then the kids steal his little plane to get to their parents. But then much later on, Danny Trejo comes in to try to help him out. Of course, it's funny that he's called Machete, so now it makes me wonder, is he trying to say that this Machete is related to the Machete in the Machete movies? If so, that'd be pretty funny that 1 minute, he could be this nice, kindly uncle, and then the next minute, he's ripping people's guts out and swinging through windows and shit and watching women take phones out of their pussy. Machete don't text. So, I mean... Or maybe not just, hey, yes, it's Danny Trejo called Machete, but they're different characters. I'm just saying. Oh, and then George Clooney has a cameo at the end where he plays the boss of the Spy Kids agency, who, of course, worked with Robert Rodriguez in From Dusk Till Dawn. So, yeah, you got George Clooney, small appearance at the very end, Antonio Banderas, Danny Trejo, Cheech Marin, a lot of familiar people. God, this fucking soda is loud. Sorry about that. That means it's crisp with the taste. And then, like I said, they escape in the submarine, and then it's pretty much a series of misadventures where they're dealing with submarine, or they're dealing with a plane, ship that they're flying, or they're dealing with jetpacks, or they're dealing with robot versions of themselves that fight them amongst this playground, and then finally getting into the fortress to rescue their parents, and so on and so forth. First off, I appreciate the movie being pretty short. I know this is a common thing I can have, but pacing, running time can be a very important thing. It's like anything else, it's balance. Some films can be too short, a lot of films nowadays especially can be too long. So that's why a lot of times I bring a running time, and I like that it was a shorter running time. It didn't need to overstep its bounds. It's not some grandiose thing. I can appreciate some of the creativity involved in this, where Alan Cumming's TV show, how he'll turn agents into these weird creatures that he uses for his show, and they are done practically, the makeup effects, so I can appreciate the makeup effects done in that. And they're very quirky, kind of just splotches of paint at times. I don't even know how you describe that kind of artistry, but very cartoony, very silly, but also quirky and interesting. It's like think of the movie Freaked with Alex Winter or something like that. Oh, another really weird idea is that they have henchmen that are literally thumbs. So the head, arms, legs are all like thumbs. The thumb henchmen. I thought that was kind of weird, but unique, and not something I expected. And there's that part of my brain that goes, "This is really stupid," but then there's part of my brain that's like, "That is kind of interesting and different." So it's like my brain was going to war on that. But I would say overall it was interesting of an idea. And it moved at a pretty fast pace that it didn't really dawdle too long. They have a build up of the characters where there's the older sister tired of taking care of the younger brother. The younger brother seems like he messes up a lot and kind of is alone, picked on at school, keeps to himself. The older sister realizing how important her brother is to her. The brother trying to stand up for himself a bit, show a little bit of courage among other things. So, like I said, there's at least some stuff for the characters, unlike it in Spy Kids 3 that I saw. I mean, a lot of films should have that, so it shouldn't be so much praise, but, sometimes it's nice seeing that. And again, the two kids did well for what they needed to showcase. Like I said, Cheech Marin, I wish he was in the film more. I don't like that he gets forgotten about later on. So I thought that he was pretty underused. Interesting the product placement, because when they escape in the sub, they have something called a rehydrator, like a packet they put in, and they come out. It's like McDonald's. I do see the McDonald's French fries, the arch yellow golden arches, and then like the burgers, like, oh, this is the burgers like how it is on the menu, and it's like, well, it's never looking like that. It never looks like the menu. Just like Falling Down tells you. Check out Michael Douglas in Falling Down. Great movie. So again, yeah, obviously product placement there. I know one of the things this was made for was because I guess Robert had met someone who had a kid and they were fans, and I guess the kid had saw Desperado, and he's like, "Well, how old are you?" "Oh, I'm 6 years old." And he's like, "Wait, your kid saw it at 6?" "Oh, I can't make movies like that anymore." I mean, he kind of did with Once Upon a Time in Mexico, although it wasn't nearly as good as Desperado. And then he did films like, what was that Ben Affleck film, Hypnotic or whatever, among other stuff. Although again, not nearly like how it was back to the even the Faculty. I think he admitted he didn't want to quote gore up the Faculty because he didn't want it to have a whole lot of violence. That's why almost all the characters live in that, and there's really no gore in that, the Faculty. So, which was disappointing. I'm not saying you gotta kill everybody off, but when almost everybody lives, it kind of eases up the danger. But I like the Faculty. I do quite like the Faculty. But it's like, and of course they did Grindhouse. I mean, Planet Terror. So again, it's funny he says that, but it does Planet Terror. And look how fucking violent and gory and bloody that is. Planet fucking Terror. And then the Machete movies he had a hand in. I can't remember if like the first one he had someone else directed. I think he did direct the second one though. I believe that is the case. I can't remember now. I think that's the case. I can't remember. I don't know why I had a brain fart on that. Um, I, I, I guess I'm just dumbfounded by Robert Rodriguez. He used to be a filmmaker I really liked and enjoyed, but just really haven't cared for him for a long, long time. For a long time. That's just me, though. I guess Planet Terror would be the last film I liked. Sin City, which was also violent, he did after this. So he would do violent films after this, but whatever. Maybe just at that time he did, then he was able to let go and do Sin City and again Planet Terror and among other stuff, but honestly those were his last two good movies, the first Sin City, Planet Terror, at least for me. But like From Dusk Till Dawn I love, Desperado was great. I like The Faculty, although it is definitely neutered down. But anyway. And again, for a film that's a kid's movie, again, I've seen worse. Again, the acting was fine, the pacing was fast enough. There's enough quirky, imaginative moments. You know, the thumb henchman, the when the action scenes, some of them, you can really see the CGI doesn't hold up the best. So like the jetpack scene, where each of the kids grab them at different times and they're flying around, and then Carmen grabs her brother Junie and they're flying around. They go into a store and stuff with the jetpacks. Or when they steal Danny Trejo's little plane thing and they shoot off and other stuff. You know, it's not, you know, the greatest looking CGI, but I'll be a little bit lenient because it is 2001, which is funny. There's some special effects that look of today that look like they're from 2001, so that I'd be more judgmental on, because I'd be like, come on, this many years later and still looking like this? Come on now. With 2001, I could be a little bit more lenient on it. But does it still look great? It's still action scenes I would rewatch? No. I mean, jetpack wise, give me a scene from The Rocketeer any day. The ejector seat scene in Die Hard 2 any day. Then spoilers. Yeah, there's a section where I did Antonio Banderas and Carla Gugino get caught, and you hear about the master plan, and then Antonio Banderas gets turned, and meanwhile the kids, I mentioned the jetpack scene, there's the robot versions of the two kids, they lose the battle, the little brain AI thing gets taken, they find their real uncle, Danny Trejo, they talk with him a bit, they steal his little plane thing. I wish there could have been more time for them to study being a spy. I get it. They only have a certain amount of time before they have to save their parents, so it's not like they could spend weeks or days training. There's like one little quick montage, and that's pretty much it. But I just wish there was a little bit more to it. Because to go from knowing very little to doing a pretty decent job was a bit of a leap. I get it's a kid's film. It's not meant to be taken realistically. But I just wish there was a little bit more time somehow, some way. Or at least maybe if Danny Trejo would help them train. Like, I'm not going on a mission, but I'll help you out, like, train you a bit. Like, a day or two. Listen, they can't do anything, at least by this time. I at least would have liked something like that. But yeah, they steal the plane, they get there. I like the idea of the sleeping sharks, and they explain why sharks don't sleep, but then they give a reason as to why these sharks are sleeping. So I like the idea of them slowly having to sneak by the sleeping sharks. I thought that was a fun idea. That, of course, eventually they have to have a fucking fart joke, because kids love the farts. Ha ha ha, don't you love the fart jokes? Tis love. Well, actually, no, it was a piss joke. I apologize. It was a piss joke. It wasn't a fart joke. It was a piss joke. Just he's like, I can't hold it in. And she's like, no, no, it will change like the water and stuff. So it was a piss joke. So I apologize. But still, oh, he like piss jokes? You love piss jokes, huh? Yeah. People love piss. So the sharks wake up from the piss. Kids make it through. I like some of the gadgets they have. There's the electroshock gumballs where you can chew, and then when you spit it, they electrocutes people, either some of the thumb henchmen or others. They blow like a bubble and they'll shock some. So, some of the gadgets were fun. I wish we could have seen a bit more of some of those gadgets. Eventually they split up. Junie tossed to Alan Cumming, who by this point, Tony Shalhoub is taking over as the main bad guy. Alan Cumming, I don't need you anymore. Alan was more set on this children's show, and that's what he was more about. Not so much the whole world thing. Junie tossed him a bit, convincing him to be on their side. They changed Antonio Banderas' character back. The two kids have to fight their robot selves. They try to fool you with there's going to be a curse. Oh shit, Tati. The kids are able to ultimately overcome the robots. They deal with their parents. They talk with Robert Patrick is there. By this point, they did catch Tony Shalhoub, but then they messed with him. So now at least I know why the fuck Tony Shalhoub looks like that in Spy Kids 3. I can't blame it on the movie. Because why would you go to Spy Kids 3 without seeing the first two? Again, for me, it was, I want to see a 3D thing, and I like Stallone. So when I'm going, who the fuck is that character, and who's that character, and why does he look that way? So I'm seeing, like, Tony Shalhoub, and I'm like, okay, why does he look that weird of a face, his head, an arm, or what? And then he has a bunch of robot kids? Well, watching this, now I know. Now I understand what the fucking deal is. Because they show he looked normal, they changed him just like he was changing the agents. At least I understand now. At least I have more of an explanation to that. But yeah, then at the end, like, Danny Trejo comes in, and then they're ready to fight, but then Alan Cumming just changes up the controls. The robot kids go and try to HUD, whatever, Tony Shalhoub, Robert Patrick, Teri Hatcher, and them. And then everything's fine. Everything's fine. The bad guys are taken, defeated. And then George Clooney says, we need a mission, but this time it's actually for Junie and Carmen. And they go, well, it'll be all of us. All of us. And then the movie's over. Again, I wish... Okay, a number of things. It is silly, it is goofy. The ending, the fact that there's no actual battle, I thought that was disappointing. It would have been nice to see the family working together as a family. So, like, Antonio Banderas using one or both of the kids in the midst of these fights. Danny Trejo to see what he can really do as this version of Machete, what he's capable of. To really see them go at it and take names and kick ass, and to not be able to see that and not be able to see the family truly working together in that capacity, I thought that was disappointing. I thought that could have been a nice culmination of the family working together aspect. Some of the stuff that they bring up, I wish they would have finished their thoughts on. Like the idea where early on there's a scene where Antonio Banderas pictures taking this bully's dad and throw him out the window, and his kid's like, wow, I'm proud of you, Dad. But then he calms down, he doesn't want to draw attention. Maybe there'd be a scene or two where Junie looks at his dad and says, I'm proud of you, and the dad kind of smiles, and he finally has his son's respect. but that's really never capitalized on. I didn't Cheech Marin. He disappears, and you see that he's been changed to one of those creatures. Obviously, he's in the sequel, so he was changed back, but again, something nice to see more. Danny Trejo, I wish had more to do at the end. He kind of breaks through the glass, says, "Hey, brother." And then at the end, they go, "Well, why did we stop talking to each other?" Back to the, "I don't know." Huh. And then that's it. That's all they do. I mean, you could say, well, that was them going against the grain, trying to be funny about it. But I don't know. I would like actually a bit more of that. Could be more heartfelt. Or just to see Danny Trejo and Antonio Banderas working together, side by side. Brother and brother fight, that would have been fun to see. I'm assuming in Spy Kids 2 they will explain why Tony Shalhoub is a good guy now. Because again, at the end of the third movie, Tony Shalhoub and his robot kids show up, and they're good guys now. So I'm assuming they explain that in the second movie. I could be wrong, but I would think that would be the case. But at least there's a little bit more. I understand Spy Kids 3 a little bit more after seeing this, so that's something. And again, at least this feels more like an actual movie. It feels like an actual story and an actual progression. And granted, I didn't think that dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's as I wanted to. They did some of the CG action scenes, the ones that are more CG heavy, just aren't that interesting to me and not that visually exciting to me. So the action scenes didn't really engage me compared to other films. The cast were charming enough to work well. It was a quick enough set that it wasn't boring or anything. There's enough creative little bits of juices flowing with the idea that Alan Cumming's kids show. He has a room that's like a kind of like the holodeck in Star Trek The Next Generation, where you go in and you visualize anything. Alan Cumming has that kind of room in his fortress. But again, the thumb henchmen, stuff like that was creative, interesting to say the least. And I don't know, the third movie just felt more like a gimmick. Gimmick with the 3D and all the stuff with the video game. And this actually felt, again, like more of a movie. So maybe it's one of those things you only needed one film. It did fairly well at the box office, and that's why you got so many movies. Even Spy Kids 3 did very well. But yeah, there's 5 of them now. So there you go. And Robert Rodriguez, he did fine. I saw bits and pieces that, was it Lava Girl, Shark Boy thing? I'm like, I don't know. I've seen bits and pieces of trailers of the other Spy Kids films, like, I don't know. If people want to send a request for them, they can, but I would not be surprised if I ever watch all these and I go, this was the only good one. Which seems like the consensus is that this is really the only one people like. Maybe that's just me, but what says you? With that said, thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye for now.